Okay, so this video is going to be just kind of a tutorial on using scalar, but not just using scalar, figuring out like if you sample something, what what key you should use to do it. Now, I do not have speakers on right now because I'm in a household where some people are still asleep. So I can't turn those on, but I'm going to just kind of demonstrate. Now, Serato sample is something I use a lot in figuring out, well, for two reasons. One, to chop samples, but also to figure out key. And I think it does, out of all the things I've used, and I've used a lot of different things, it's probably the best one that I've used, that I found to be successful in detecting what the key of the song is. So in this case, it detects this key of this song as C minor, okay? So what I like to do is use my ear to go with that. So using your ear affords you the opportunity to kind of see if it's right on, because mind you, you're taking bits and pieces of samples chopped and putting them together to try to make a rhythm, right? To put together some type of sound. So I have scalar on this first track here, and there's a couple of things you can do. You can route this Serato sample that I did here to play in here, but the problem with that is it will typically just play, when it tries to detect it, it will just detect the notes that you actually played, which doesn't help. That's not going to give you the key. So what I did was I used my ears, here it is, instead of that, and just press the detect, right? Then hit the record. And then I just play in the notes that I hear that sound right with the sound of the song. So in other words, the song is playing in the background and you're just keying in the notes that fit. And when you do that, you'll see it detects C, in this case, C, G, F, E flat, also known as D sharp. But look here, what's the scale? C minor. And that's exactly the notes I hear in the sample that I did, which is those 4 notes I plugged in. Those notes match my sample, and I can play them, and I don't care where I play them at in that sample, it sounds good. So I know this is this is 100%, but it's a good way to determine, hey, that scale is probably accurate, because look what it pulled up, C minor, the same scale that it's in. So that's also an indication of what the chords could be. So if you're playing them in an order and they sound like they belong in that order or don't belong in that order, you could take these first notes as the chord, the root note of the chord. So I could play a C, a G, an F, and then an E flat. Now, whether it's going to be minor or not will be based on the scale. So if you look down here at these scale voices, these are your triad voicings. So C is the number 1 chord. Hold on, let me zoom in so you can see that better. C is the number 1 chord. G is G minor. So I'd play a C minor, then I'd play a G minor, that's the 5th. And then I would play an F, which would be an F minor, which would be the 4th. And then the last chord would be an E flat, which is a 3. So it'd be a 1, 5, 4, 3. And now I'm just assuming that's based on the root notes that I'm playing, right? That sound. And if this camera looks crooked, it's because it is a little crooked. So disregard it. Now you'll probably notice it more than ever, but that I said it. But I'm trying to figure out the best angle to get it to where it'll, and if I change it too much, that's a little bit better. So anywho, getting back to what we were talking about, I'm going to keep this video under 5 minutes if possible. You can use these chord ideas, and if you touch down here, there's 7ths, 9ths, 11ths, 13ths. So find the first chord that you like, drop it in the pattern and hit suggest, and then let it suggest chords. And just remember, you're using these notes to try to build your chord progression. So find the best chords that fit to your sample. And that's a tricky thing at times, but if you listen closely and use your ear, you can actually come up with a whole chord progression that fits the sample, and then take the sample either away, or you can keep the sample and build over the sample, which is what I typically would do, is just build over the sample to just thicken the sound a little bit. All right, I said under 5 minutes. We're at 4:42, 4:43. I'm going to get off. That's it for this video. Until the next one, just a little tip on taking samples and using them to try to figure out what the scale could be. All right, I'm off.